Hello, hello, everyone. My name is Athena Seye, and welcome to Dragon Dreamscape. So, this is a little mini series connecting with other like minded souls who are connected to the earth, who's connected to the goddess, who's connected to the dragon, the fae, the she lineages. And I'm so honored to be chatting today with my dear friend Robbins, excuse me, and she is just an amazing soul to work with. She does so much. I can't even explain like all the things you do. It's like we can't put ourselves in a box, right? Like we try to explain it and it's like, well, that's what I'm doing today. But Roberta is just amazing, and I'll have her go ahead and introduce herself a little bit here. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Athena, for having me.
Yeah.
When anytime someone says, "So I'll have you introduce yourself," there's this part of me that goes, "What will I tell them in this moment? Who I am?" Um, and so I just sum it up as I'm a sacred wisdom weaver. And what the heck does that mean?
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of us that are weavers, sacred weavers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just a bit, I'm in Canada, and though you can definitely find me at times in Ireland, bouncing around to some different places too. Um, and I do, I do a little bit of this and that, and all the connections through the this and that are wisdoms, tools, sacred tools to help others
Yeah.
find who they are, to remember, really remember who they are, to give them that confidence and the encouragement. And plus, I do a lot of deep one-on-one with individuals to help them on that journey, because anybody that's here, most likely with us, knows that we have a journey and it changes from day to day. So I'm like, what's in my medicine toolbox that I could pull out that might be of support and help? So along with shamanic journey is a big thing that I do, in astrology and numerology. But I love my journey work. I love my one-on-ones, and I love doing retreats
Mm.
with individuals, especially to sacred places, or to create those sacred moments that people can really feel
Yeah.
their essence and the connection with divine Mother Earth,
Mhm.
but also that cosmic connection, right? It is this flow through here, and then the mystical magicalness that is beyond this world, this beautiful world that we feel and see. And to these days, aren't we just feeling in so many different realities? So that's actually these days. So what am I doing these days? I'm probably helping people more feel what that looks like
Yeah.
and come into alchemy of all of these energies that are shifting and moving. Uh, Most of that's where the focus, and I think the focus, that's where it's going a lot for me, is that direction. And I think, Athena, you can totally understand that, like helping us with the ascension, all these key words we're hearing these days, helping us, right?
Yeah.
Have more inner strength, but
Yeah.
capacity for it. So that's a little bit about the magic of the stuff that I do. But I like to go and hang out in Ireland and hang out in fields and sacred circles, and I like to go and hang out at the moon by myself at night. As I'm sure a lot of you
Yeah.
probably like to
Yeah.
do.
I think
So
so.
yeah, I'm
We do.
excited about today in our chat.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I don't even know how exactly what we got connected, but I'm so glad that we did, because like you said, we do share a lot of that similar kind of weaving of our medicine and grabbing from the toolbox, and it's not like we can just put ourselves in a box. And I think that's one of the biggest things with the feminine is, we don't need to be in a box. We really are moving with the energies of the times. We're being called to do and shift and grow, and I think there's a fluidity to it that's just so beautiful and so powerful as well. So yeah, I'm right there with you, like, what are we going to do today? Let's just go with it.
Yeah. And it's
um
breaking it down, right? Breaking down what we've been through and what we've been taught, to
mhm.
go, I have no box. I'm not here to fit in to
Mhm.
how one thing or one way is supposed to be. We're here to like show and be all that we are. And
Yeah.
that can be a little scary for some, and sometimes for ourselves trying to make sense of it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like that deconditioning of how we were raised, or what, yeah, like fitting in. And I think this is a great segue to, kind of like that dragon energy. And for me, the dragon energy really feels like it helps us to reclaim our wild woman. It helps us to break out of those constructs and really reclaiming all those lost parts of our soul and our essence, and really bringing our power and our love and our passion into this body, into this experience. So when we talk about dragon energy, what is it that you relate most to? Like, if I would say what's a dragon, how do you explain that in your terms, in your lingo?
Well, today I brought a little picture of a dragon, and this is what we think it is. No, sorry.
No, I love it. I love it.
Dragon. I'm like, oh, I should have came with a card. Um, what is dragon? I've always been walking like for the longest time. Like I think since I birthed into this world, right? Seeing, knowing certain things. Like some of us just have that, and some of us come at different things at different times. And I remember as a kid, I lived out in the country, and I could always see certain things and feel certain things. Not only portals are a big thing for me, but spirits and sprites and fays, but also there was the dragon energy. Like there was something I could feel things in lands. And you know how when you're younger, you take note, you remember about certain things, but when you get older, all of a sudden they start coming in stronger and stronger. So when I think of dragon energy, what that is for me these days, I would say it's been getting louder and louder the last few years. And we were having a little chat before we started this video, and you were saying about how you're seeing this a lot in your dream time. And for me, it's my journeys. It's in journey time. They've been showing up and showing up. To just last week, I had my dragon fully show up and say, like, start talking to me, even though I've had dragons around me and dragons that have showed up in journeys that I've done for groups and things like that. But there's like, oh, you're my dragon, like you're here. And we did like a whole reclaiming, like I do with when it comes to like power animals. Now I did the whole thing, with my dragon, and he's quite the character. But the other thing with dragons, what I've noticed in my life is, especially when I've gone to England, seeing the dragons and feeling the dragon energy in England. When I went to Arizona, and there is certain parts of Arizona, there's dragon energy in there. Like I said, England is, I think it's the most tangible.
Yeah.
Feeling, seeing them, knowing they're there. Ireland, which I've obviously been to many, many times. It's interesting. It feels a little different the way it's working over there, but I also can feel where they are. They're just not places I've landed in yet on that land, like more to the north, to Sligo, a little bit more to the west, but on the islands, Aran Islands, out through that way. Like I can feel where there's the energy there. The medicine, they come at very potent times.
Yeah.
Of transportation, transportation, but transformation.
Yeah.
Like there is almost a side by side with that kind of phoenix energy with them. Like they're in this kind of like the same kind of medicine realm, but they're a very portal, there's a very fire, but then there's a very water in there. Like, there's just the medicine is more potent, and I think that's why they come in at certain times. But they're there rising and rising and rising, and more of us are becoming aware of them in so many different ways. And it feels like they're here, they're waiting, they're helping us evolve into our awareness and medicine. So dragons, do you know what I mean? Like that's the essence, and it feels so far of, you could see them in tree. I mean, it's once you start opening and say you want to open to this and see, they'll show themselves to you.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that up, because that is so, so important, that we've been kind of trained and taught to not believe. Because I was the same way as you. I used to see fairies. I had like imaginary fairy friends all the time, but they weren't like the little fairies. They were like big fairies. They were like the what I now call them as the elven, or even the shining ones, right? The illuminated ones. And so working with them, like I didn't believe it then, and now I'm like, oh, it makes sense. But once you start opening up to that again, it's just like you're a child again, and it's bringing you to this place of wonder and joy and awe, and that's what opens up. I feel like that's what's opening up the portal ways for us to see beyond the veils. And I know about different times in the year where that is good, those portal ways are opening, right? The eclipses and full moons, all that stuff can really bring in more of that dragon energy. So let's talk a little bit about like the portals. I don't know if you have, I know you said a couple of them, like England, of course. Was there
Just a couple of portals?
well, I know there's so many, but you said England and Arizona, and there's some other ones. So when you go, I just like to kind of get a sense of, how do your gifts perceive them? Like, is
Okay,
there
so
something specific, that is it a feeling? Do you see something? Do you get a straight download? Do you get the goosebumps? Like, what's your sign of being able to tell if there's a portal or that dragon energy?
all right. So, the portals can come without the dragons. And in my sense of like my intuitive gifts, I see, I hear, I feel, I have a lot of them that are pretty active, and
Yeah.
sometimes they're just working together. I definitely can see them.
Yeah.
I can feel them. I know clear cognizance, they're there. Downloads. I mean, I hear sometimes some of them have a frequency. They're all very different. Like I see them in lots of different things. I've been seeing them since I was a kid. Of course, when I was younger, they freaked me out a bit, right? Like I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
But now I like understand more when I think back to those times. But like let's see, if you go to the cliffs where Merlin's caves are in England, have you been there?
I have not.
Okay, so when you're there in Tinagel area and you're at the cliffs and the Merlin caves are down, but you're looking down at them, there's literally a dragon right there.
Mm.
He's right there. He's right there. Like almost once you see him, you're like, he could bite you. Like, I mean, in a good way. You know how when something's so in your face,
Yeah.
and they see it, you're like, holy crap. And like he's there guarding this cave entrance.
Oh.
And then there's like when you go to Glastonbury, when you think of Glastonbury and you hike up to the tower, you're hiking up the essence of a dragon. And you're looking, you get up there, you're looking, you can see the head, the tail, that you're on the body. Like he's in the land right there. And in Arizona, there's certain portals that are very intense in certain places. As you're kind of the northern part of Arizona to get up into Colorado. And I couldn't see them because I was looking down at a cliffside into canyon area where there's definitely caves and dwellings and various things. And there's very alien-ish energies and spaceships and stuff actually in the mountainside there. But there's also very dragony area, like fire dragon stuff through there. And so those I'm more feeling they're so intense and mixed with other energy too, that they feel much different. Where obviously England has a very different energy. I was walking with sage, Merlin energy while I was there. I mean, I was walking around with my staff and like I could feel them walking with me. It's so palpable. So there's those different energies because they're different. The portals are different. The dragons are different. There's different medicine. Like just as humans, we're all different. In the landscape, the earth, like what's holding there, why they're there, what's the reason, right? Why they're holding that space.
Yeah.
Medicine. And then there's just like in Ireland last summer when I was there for a few months, there's a lake there near a very large stone circle that was connected over to it. And I knew that lake had a portal in it. Like I could feel, and so then I could feel the journey and see down through the lake to it. And when I was sitting over to the stone circle, sitting there, that there's a portal that's connected from that circle all the way through to that lake to come up. And so, of course, I did some journeys there, but so it comes in different ways for me. And I'm very grateful that I have all the different ways that it can perceive. Some of us have one or two, and you just hone that. And and I think it comes with different ways because of the different medicine and what they are or where they're located. Like a lake, a bottom of a lake, I mean,
Yeah.
has a different frequency to it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So I just took my kiddos. I'm in Iowa, so like there's not a lot here. It's like a lot of cornfields. But there is closer to the Mississippi River, there is it's called Makokata Caves. And I've been there a few different times, but this time we went into one of the caves and it wasn't a huge cave, but I'm like, this is a fairy den. Like I just
Mm.
got full on, like I just knew. And then, I snapped some pictures and I was just like, I could just feel that loving energy. Of course, I had two little ones, so I couldn't really be there very long. So I'm like, with the little kids. But I just knew it. And so I took a couple pictures and then walked along the curve just a little bit on the trail. And right there in the actual side of the cave is a huge dragon. And I was like, duh, it's making sense. It's protecting that portal way.
Yeah.
I was like, it's definitely protecting that area. And after I looked back at my pictures, there was actually, of course, the one picture that I took of the fairy den had the rainbow rays in it. I had none others in none of my pictures that I took. It was just that one. And I was like, that was my confirmation that, that was definitely a portal way. There was definitely some fun energies that were there and also that protective energy. And then we went to Mount Shasta and there is a waterfall. I just cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's just not too far from Weed, California, where Mount Shasta is. And there's a huge dragon protecting that space. And it was just like so amazing. And again, took a picture and there was the rainbow rays. And I'm just like, you can't deny it once you open up your eyes to it. So, and I
Yeah.
know Mount Shasta is very powerful for, it's the root chakra. It's a huge hub for all sorts of alien activity, as well as the inner earth beings, Telos, the Lemurian connections. And then also it's like a Stargate, it is a Stargate where we're also receiving the energies of the cosmos and the earth in that space and kind of spreading it out through the land and through the grid lines. And so I had some really beautiful and intense experiences while I was in Shasta, just with that dragon energy, the fairies, the Lemurians, and just kind of reminding and remembering, I should say, my connection to all of that. And like, oh yeah, that's right. That is part of me, right? We're all kind of remembering that it's within our DNA. It's within our galactic, our cosmic DNA. It's some of those original blueprints that we carry, and we're starting to unlock that and remember, it's not just a story tale or a myth. Like it really is our truth, and we're coming and speaking of it now. And I love that. And so that's another reason why I wanted to do this, is because it's like bringing awareness. Like we are so multidimensional and we can start to reclaim all these lost parts of ourselves, and the dragons are here to guide us to do that. So yeah, I'm there with you. um so let's talk. Have you had, I mean, I know you talked about England a little bit and holding your staff, but what was like your most profound experience or message working with the dragon consciousness? And sorry if my dog's barking.
So a dragon, oh my, as I have right now, like one literally talking to me. Sorry. Profound experience. I'm going to start there with chatter behind me.
My
Um,
dog's barking too, so they're
and
in.
like, yeah, so it's like energy here. Um, I would definitely say in England was my most profound, just especially in Glastonbury. Like very touchable, tangible, like I mean, shifting through different spaces and time, like feeling or remembering chants and medicine and holding spaces. And even that day going up, I was walking with two other women that I was with. One was from Ireland and the other one's from Scotland. And then there's, Canadian girl here. And I made it up there before them. And we were the only ones up at the tour. And it was windy and rainy. And it was like the energy was just swirling. And I knew I stood outside waiting for them, and I could feel the shifting of into other times that I have been here and held a very sage mage um, essence. And I was to be the protector and the space holder as the two of them were coming up for why they needed to be there. And that day that we decided to go. And I was holding and I sat like I was walking and I could feel like the dragon energy rising up, spiraling. I could feel walking like almost with that Merlin energy and walking around and setting the perimeter and holding that space for them to come up and go in and do their thing. And then I added and walked in with them and I said this, like I could hear how I was like channeling through other space and time of like we stood, the three of us there, and I said, we need to hold hands, but pretend like feel a staff in our hands too. And we had things that we were doing, chanting to the land, like the energy coming up and spiral. Like it was probably the most powerful, palpable shifting of merging of spaces and places and times to one
Oh, I
of
have
this
like
energy.
full on like goosebumps. Like I can feel that experience.
And then when I went over to Cornwall area where I stayed in Boss Castle and the St. Nectan's Glen waterfalls is right there, and then Merlin's and the King Arthur's Castle, all that, all through that area. Everywhere I walked, I was not walking alone.
Mhm.
It was such different energy and medicine. Like, not that I haven't been aware of it or talk about it or feel it and play with it a bit, but it was embodied, like it was with me. It
Mhm.
was so palpable.
Oh,
So
love that.
when I think of that trip and that those areas that I went to, I mean, if you're open, you can't, you're not avoiding it. It's, and it's colliding through spaces and places and time. So that's my England dragon rising, and it's a fiery serpent kind of energy that's rising up through, but very, I can't like the mage, sage,
Mhm.
holder of
Yeah.
I think it's like the energy
Well,
like you
it's
feel
like
that.
it's that deep magic and wisdom, and yet also being a guardian of it, right?
Yeah.
Being that guardian. And I know that there's so many of us guardians that are rising, even myself. Like I never thought of myself like as a guardian, but like I just never did. But now I'm like, oh yeah, I am. I'm a guardian of the earth and I'm a guardian of love and I'm a warrior of love, but it doesn't have to look like what it does in, other people's minds or imaginations, but anchoring in that frequency. And like you said, like when you're in those portal spaces and those places, you feel that energy rising within you because it is part of you. We are not separate from the land, we are not separate from the stars. And so it's that true embodiment and integration, and knowing that whatever is coming through, we don't always have to consciously be aware and think it through, but like allowing our hearts to open and allowing the energy and the magic and the medicine to flow, and just trusting that it's moving how it needs to. And I think so many of us are being called to that space of being, what I like to say, the vessel or the vortex or the channel, right? Being that bearer of light for ourselves, for the planet, and for the other, and for other people as well. And understanding that we do have to guard some of these you know teachings or some of these energies. We do have to really protect this earth, because if we don't, then who will, right? And so I feel like there's this big protection of the earth and all of her children that myself personally is really being called to. And I'm a mom of two little kids, so like of course that that mama bear comes out in me when it needs to come out in me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love, and I could feel that whole story. I felt it through my body. And I've never traveled to England, but I felt like I was there with you. And this kind of brings me into another few experiences. I would say over the last 2 years, I've been like reconnecting with the fairy, or the she, and even the elven. And so they've been showing me these ancient priestess, really priestess of Avalon. And I think this even goes back further to like the priestesses of Lemuria. And like that's my remembering, like I started having my memories of Lemuria come back. And what, like you said, talking about chanting and things, like I remember standing in circle. I remember certain things that we were doing. And my light language comes up, and this earth Gaian language comes up. And then also like I'm starting to remember the Avalon periods. And so the shining ones, or the she, are really coming forward to like help me to understand these portal ways, even though I haven't actually physically traveled. Like I journey too. So like when I'm on these, I call them a soul quest, but when I'm questing, like I see, feel, and know these different portal ways, and like really anchoring in that divine mother principle with the divine masculine principle, and just feeling that rise within these different portal ways. So Avebury was one of them. Glastonbury recently is one of them. Been going to Bali, working with the 13th pillar. And these are also like, if you know, I'm sure you've heard of like mother arc sites, right? They're like vortexes. They call them the mother arc, or some will even say like the Ark of the Covenant places, right? So like terms are a little different here, but these portalways are activating within the earth, so we can like remember those connections. And then I had this really beautiful message that came forward. Was it yesterday or the day before? Sometime this week. I'm not really sure what day it is, but um, that the message was, that we are really literally, we are the guardians of this earth, but also we are connecting with our multidimensionality to bring these new lights and this new energy into the planet, to really anchor and even power our planet with um, these energies that are just, it's not recycling, but what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think of the word, but it's like we're constantly moving, and we're continuously growing and evolving, and this energy is too. And so I just keep feeling like we're all so connected. These dragon portals, these dragon hubs, these vortices that are on the planet are helping us to raise our frequency and really unite with our original blueprint. And that's how we're going to power this earth in the future. This is kind of out there a little bit, but it's like through love. And I guess the best way to really describe what I'm trying to say here is, if you think of the movie, have you ever seen Monsters Inc? It's like a
Yes.
kids Disney movie. Like we've been powered by fear for so long. And the message that my guides brought forward is like, now we're powered by laughter and love. And so this regenerative, that's the energy I'm trying to say, the regenerative energy that we have and that we hold, like that's what's going to be powering literally everything. And so it's like that, of course, is probably, maybe 1,000 years in advance or so. But that was the message that kept coming, is like, okay, we have to be this regenerative energy and start really raising our frequency to that of love, and that of, moving away from the fear, and moving away from the conditioning and the old patterns, and into this new way of being, which is actually not really new. It's our original state of being, but we're remembering that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to speak to that, because it's been so prevalent this week for me. And it's like, oh, just things are clicking, and that dragon energy is part of that.
Yeah, I think definitely the dragon part, we're noticing the rising, more and more people talking about dragons. They're making themselves known more. We are, being the message. When you first asked me what was the strongest message or the experience I had, and I said, oh, I got like chatter here, and it was, it's to step into that fire, that initiation, but in that there's a vitality, there is a strength, there is a courage for us to start having these conversations. Because, even though we have been seeing and walking and playing and all these things for our entire freaking life, at least you and I, there's only certain people we would talk about. And look, we're here easily talking about this, talking about these experiences, talking about dragons, talking about fae, talking about, portals and traveling a universe, and the fact that this is where I think, I find myself as a, spiritual entrepreneur, and all the things that I've been walking and doing. There is this switchover that's being called right now. And it's been there these last few years going, and I'm like, how you want me to switch over to this? What you want me to go here? You want me to switch over here? And the switch over here is these kind of conversations about, we are remembering, we are going into there's new technology and new frequencies and codes and things that are going to be coming out more and more strongly, that we have to know how to work with them, how to work with our own frequencies, how to be working with things like being telepathic, traveling in different ways without airplanes, like all the things that, we kind of been walking and doing. It's like, how do we bring this into the norm, and that it's not actually something new? It may be new for our frequencies and where we are on this earthly plane, but it's what we actually originally are and we've done.
Yes.
Some of us are seeing it, knowing it, remembering it easier, quicker, faster, and helping us with our vocabulary, our communication, because some of it's so not communication of this world. And I'm sure you're noticing it getting stronger and stronger for yourself. And I know as in myself, I'm getting better at the words and the there's an energy that's working right
There
here,
is.
right now. Those listening,
like,
that will tune into this. But we are trusting in that too. But we're getting all of this so that we can support and help. And that's, kind of the mind stuff. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm actually going to be doing this more with my life and my work. But we needed to go through all of this other stuff. And that's why sometimes we look at this beautiful basket and all these things, they're all there still if needed.
Yeah.
But we're being called to the here. And so is everybody else. We're all just at different little steps and frequencies of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think these conversations are great.
Yeah. Well, and I
Great
think that was one of the things. It's like, okay, what's lighting you up? And some of the stuff that I used to do that used to light me up is no longer. And I'm like, okay, I got to follow like this drive that's in me. And these chats were part of that. It was like, you need to just gather people that that are kind of like you, that talk about dragons and things like that, and really start to have these conversations. Because if you don't do it, then who will? Like, we need to be speaking of it, because these are real experiences that we're having. We're not crazy. These are real things that we are feeling physically in our body. And I love how you talked about like voicing it, because I struggle finding the words sometimes. Like, I have these amazing visions and these knowings and these feelings in with my body, but it's like, how do you articulate what this message actually is? Because it's so huge. It's so big. It's a massive energy. How do we funnel this in so other people can also feel it? And part of this work is about, like you said, it's this energy that we hold when we're in sacred space. Because I know you do sacred circles. I love holding sacred circles. And so when we're in that space, we don't even always have to speak. The energy is there. We're creating that space, right? And that's part of the feminine energy, is to create that space of safety so we can receive energies and we can deliver it, as an oracle or as a medicine person, to share that with the community who feel called to join. So let's kind of dive in a little bit to like the medicine circles and things like that. How do you incorporate your energy, your essence, like when you host a circle, or how do you even get the idea? Like, let's talk a little bit about like, how do you even get an idea to host a circle? This is kind of out there, but I just
I'm
feel
like, how do I actually, because it becomes second nature, and you're like, how's that process even happen? Oh, you want me to define it step by step, because it just happens.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing sacred circles for a very long time. Even when I think back, I was doing these things a long time ago, but didn't have the words for it, right? At different, it's like, oh my gosh, I've kind of already, I started gathering friends and doing things when I was a kid, and at certain points, I'm like, what was that about? But now these days, I used to do them a lot. on a regular basis. Whether it was full moon or new moon or special things like your wheel of the year, like all of them. They used to be a regular constant thing. And the last few years, I now listen to when they're needed.
Mhm.
I find a lot of people, especially in my area, there's a lot of new people. Everybody's doing them. There's like so many options. Where back in the day, I would have been one of the fewer
Yeah.
people doing these things, right? So now if I'm running one or holding that space, I listen, I feel into the frequency. I hear when it's like you're to do this one on this day for these reasons. And there is an energy and like a maybe an essence of why that is, why they're saying that, why this is one's important. But when I step into the space, it's usually just bit before then that I was thinking to what is the essence? What do you want? I might sit and channel and like just hear the components of it. But now I arrive in more to that space and those people and that energy in that moment and allow things to flow through in real time. Where,
Mhm.
before I would have had a little bit more of a step by step or written out kind of thing, or even went through my journey they wanted me to do. And I would do points about my journey so that it was there. Now it's like we're in it at that time, in that moment, flowing and guiding in and bringing them in on that when
Yeah.
it's a sacredness. So I'm sharing my essence and my magic, weaving it that way. And of course, getting them open to receive and to weave their own, which I think why I really like when it comes to sacred circle, where we're doing rituals and step by step with a container. There's those ones, but I love the journey type sacred circles where I'm helping them to feel it. I want them to feel and experience their own. And that's
Yes.
why I think I love to do these things at Wheel of the Year times, like Beltane, Beltane we just had, right? We're in that season. That one and Samhain is like really important for me. Um, the veils are the thinnest
Yeah.
at that time. So people can naturally feel things a little bit more and hear things. So that helps them. But
Mhm.
also I love, like, I am passionate about being in person, even though a lot has gone online, and because I have people all over the place, so it makes it easier
Yeah.
for us all to connect. But that in-person energy weaving, and if I can actually either have people with me in certain powerful places and spaces, like various places in Ireland that I go, or even if I can open up and share it while I'm in it for others, it helps them. It's
Yeah.
activating them even more.
Mhm.
And so I get more just automatically guided. I'm to do this. I can feel the frequency. If I'm not supposed to do a circle
Mhm.
at a certain time. It's
Mhm.
like, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do this,
Mhm.
right? For yourself. Everybody is okay out there. Because
Yep.
that's the unwinding part of when you used to do these things all the time and hold the space for
Yeah.
everybody to help them. You're like, you know what? There's a lot more of them out there. They can all help those people too. What do
Mhm.
I need to do to power and reserve up myself for
Yes.
these other bigger components and energies, right? That's what I know. But I in more channeling,
Mhm.
accepting faith into those moments
Mhm.
when I step into them. Does
And
that
I
make sense? And the
yeah,
difference? Yeah.
it does. And I love that you said it too, because probably other people that are watching this, because I know some people that, are in it where they're used to the step by step. They're so used to like having instructions and this is what I do, and it's just like when like I'm going to go teach a course or something like that. I'm like, I don't have a step by step. I can't do that anymore. I used to, and now I'm like, I just have to go with the energy. And
Yeah.
so I love that you said that, because that's something, for the people that are watching, maybe they're struggling. And so maybe, for some, it's about releasing, like you said, trusting and surrendering into that receivership and listening to what your body is telling you, even if you have something planned and all of a sudden you're like, no, and it's not your ego, right? It's not your mind trying to work its
Yeah.
way out of it for whatever reason. But if it's actually truly like not meant to be in that moment, like it's okay to cancel, and that's another thing that's coming up too, is like you know, if some things are happening in your world, you really have to honor yourself and your body first. Like, I know just this week I was having a very rough day, just a lot was coming on, and I had to like move my schedule around because I'm like, I needed this time for myself. And I'm so glad I did, because the next day it was just like downloads galore. So I needed that space. And so I think that if anyone that's watching this, that you're feeling like you're trying to grasp onto the old ways of being, like, what if you could just let go, just let your hands off the wheels a little bit, right? Like, you don't need to be white knuckling it. What if you can surrender a little bit more into the process of receiving, and just seeing what comes out of that. um and again, I know it can be hard because our society, there are still some people that are, you know, working their 9 to 5s and they have to provide for their family, and I do understand that as well. But it's like, what if you could like really start to find a way that you're working with your rhythms, you're working with the earth's rhythms, you're working with the energies that are coming into you, you're working with your inner gnosis, and that's how you weave, right? That's what you're weaving. That's what we're weaving, is what's active and alive within us in every now moment. So I love that you brought that up, because that's kind of what I've been feeling too. Like, it was so set. This is what I did. And now I'm like, I don't want to write papers. I don't want to write anything down. I just want to be me. And then this kind of brings me up to something that's, how are we doing on time? I don't even know.
I have no clue.
It's 4:44. So that's perfect. But I will just say, like, something that's been coming up into my awareness is, you know, how the old sages and the magi, and even like the Celts and things like that, like, they didn't write things down. Like, they didn't write
I
things down.
know.
And this, so I'm just weaving this with us now. I'm speaking out loud now because it's only been in my head, and then I've been receiving like ways that, you know, words have been manipulated, or, you know, even the word like surrender, or the word power, or authority, like all of those things can also have that negative kind of vibe to it. But it's like reclaiming those words, and understanding that we don't have to necessarily like write it all down, but live it, be it, breathe it. And I feel like that's kind of tapping into what we like to call the living library, right? Like, I feel like the Celts were really into that energy. You know, they like communicated with the trees. Like, I just feel like this strong connection with the trees, and they communicated with the animals, and it was like it didn't ever have to be recorded. It was just experienced. And I feel like some of us are now tapping into those old memory banks, those,
Yep.
that living library, not necessarily the Akash, but it's like the living library of the earth. And like, all of this medicine is coming forward. And so if we can pause and find that stillness, we can start to communicate with the trees and find the old story lines, or I like to call them the, you know, the song lines, and we can start to add to those song lines. So have you felt any connection to that aspect? I know we're kind
Yeah,
of going full like all
yeah.
over the
In
place, but
another, because we may need to do another call to talk about the Fey world, and I have some lovely experiences and things I could share there. So that'll be another time.
okay,
Um,
I'm game.
this, in a few ways, I experienced that. Um, yes, that opening up and connecting, have the energy being the inviting, the support in. And so, you know, I think of my, you know, when I'm teaching any shamanism, I was taught as a verbal teaching. This is how you get it. This is, you're not, I mean, you might be able to take notes and stuff for yourself, but there's no handouts. There's none of that. And so I think of that way, and that's how I teach a lot. Like a lot of things I don't care to do PDFs for people and stuff like that. Like there's certain medicine, and I want you here because I'm here opening up in that moment to get to have that flow. So there's the energetics, like you said, the communicating with the energetics around you in that moment, in that channeling, but also how I see it. You said the living library, which was quite interesting to say, you know, that because I think we can access things in that living, flowing moment. And I think what's happening, what I'm noticing is because the more we expand within the realities and our different realities, but also past lives and all of our essence of our medicine, we can open up that portal that contain like that frequency code, the portal of our fuller essence. So it's all just flowing. It's flowing beyond this life, and we can access it through other times and bring it through.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
So there's something different happening.
Yeah.
And as for those that are maybe, used to that, writing it out and putting almost so much time and effort before you even get to your calls, your containers, your circles, it's step by step. It's trusting, it's letting go, maybe go to point form. Trust a little bit more. Tell your people, this is what I'm doing. I'm opening up. Call in more support. You just step by step take the training wheels off. Take the, just what's the next step? And you get to the point where you like, what, I'll share what some things were happening to me, even when I wanted to do point form or go find my old notes from something I've run so many times. Do you think I can freaking find them when I just saw them like probably the day before? And I'm like, they do not want me going back to old notes, other things I've written down. They don't even want, they want me to like write a piece of paper and tell myself like what date, what I'm doing. Like that's maybe what I have. Or if I have a big event, I might do just a point form more so can I keep myself on track for time.
Yeah.
But like they literally hide. They're like, you're not in that. You don't need that. We don't want to go into your old anymore. So you'll probably notice things just freaking missing. You'll even do notes and then they'll be gone. You're like, I just did my notes for this.
Or the computer.
Because you're supposed to be trusting.
Yeah.
Trusting
and I
yourself.
love that.
You are the medicine. You are the medicine.
I feel that so deep. I love that so much.
Right? Medicine. You're the medicine. You are the wisdom. Expand. Open up. Trust. So, so much there that we could go.
I know. Because we're almost to an hour. So
yeah.
That I think that was kind of the message to humanity, because I did have a little note here to just write, like, if you had a message for humanity, what would it be? But that kind of feels like you said it, right? Like we are the medicine, right? To open up, to trust, to surrender a little bit more, and not going back to necessarily the old way, what we're used to, but kind of, for me, it's like about this excitement of what's next, and just being here and exploring, like, what does that feel like to really surrender and to trust? And so many of us are, struggling with that, me, myself included. Like I like a little bit of control. I'll be honest, like my ego is like really loud some days. But that's my process, is to let go a little bit more, to open up a little bit more and really be in that moment and just go with it. So if there is anything else that you want to say about dragons, or another message for humanity, or anything else that we haven't touched on, that maybe just feeling into the moment, feeling in to what you want to share, go ahead and do that.
As for the dragons, they're waiting. They're right there. They're waiting for you to clearly open your eyes. Like and want that and see. So it's there for everybody, the medicine, them, everything to go with it. And trust that they'll show you in the divine way that feels good and natural for you in your medicine. So that there's that. And for another message that I've been getting for a while, is, we've learned to open up, rise above, open, go, receive this part. And before I was like, oh, so much about grounding. It is the flow between, we have to remember our divine earth, the grounding, our channeling, our soul rooting. And we're opening up and being that channel and that frequency clean and clear as we open up to our soul self, our higher life, our quantum self, but also the cosmic realms of so much that lives there. And that the two, but we are the bridge between it, is connected. You can't have one without the other. So if you find yourself too much up here, make sure you're rooting down here, because we need the root of the frequency and the flow for where we're going, how we're expanding, and to be able to hold that container as we bring in more. So don't forget above and below.
Yeah.
The center, within,
without.
yourself. Yep.
Oh, that's such a good message. I love that so much. And I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with us, with all of us here. And yeah, what are you working on now and how can people contact you? I'll make sure to put it in the little description as well, but where can people find you and find your wisdom and your medicine?
I would say these days I'm putting a lot into my Cosmic Earth Weavers group.
Which I
Yeah.
love.
You're in as a member and you share your medicine and magic, and I love that. And I'm putting a lot of time and energy in that. It's a free community, and I do channels, and I do, like, I'm doing various things, and I'm sharing them now, some of those things that I do out and over to my YouTube channel. I'm like, I need, bring some of it out so other people
Yeah.
beyond that realm. And
Mhm.
what I'm doing these days, I'm actually starting to unravel a bit of some of these teachings that I've been doing, so that I can move more space into this deeper frequency for individuals. So I'm inviting people that want to work this way one-on-one to reach out to me. And what's percolating is having a small container of women that are like ready
Mhm.
for us to like go deeper and expand and play and have these kind of circles and containers.
Mhm.
That's what's playing and working around, and just having more this with people. Like I just, I want to have conversations with people and communities and us to collaborate and be together. Like this is really important. And, part of myself says, well, you're not doing a lot in the money part because so much of that is free. But you know what? This is the unraveling. And for us to receive in different ways and support in different ways for each other. So my energy is going to a lot of that and trusting in being divinely supported and all those other earthly realm things that we all have to navigate. So, and where they can find me, yeah, over on my Cosmic Earth Weavers, that's a Facebook. I have my main Facebook page. And then I have robertarobbins.com, which is my website, and the YouTube channel. So those are where you can find, oh, well, Instagram. Oh my gosh. We all have a social I love my Instagram. You want to know why? Because I love I like taking photography. I love creating the images and that. So I actually love, like, it soothes me to go into my own Instagram just for creation. But I'm
Mhm.
there. I mean, look at us, how many things we can connect with each other
Mhm.
to message from
Yeah.
sometimes we can lose track. Where did that person message me? Was that
Yeah.
Messenger or Instagram, or was that a text?
Was that
Or was
an
that an
email?
email?
Oh,
We
I'm
should
so
be
there
so
with you.
lucky that we have so many channels, but I trust that, people find me if they feel the frequency there, they find
Yeah.
us, right? And it may be just this beautiful call that we just had, which I hope we have more
Yes.
like,
I
yes.
totally want to go deeper into the Fae and all of that
Mhm.
stuff and more into Ireland because we just scratched the surface
And we
today.
get over to
I'm totally game to have you on again. So yeah, maybe next month we can get together. So I just want to say thank you so much. I honor you and I'm so glad that we got to connect in this way. And yeah, if you have that group of people, like invite me. If I don't have my kiddos, I will be there.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. And
Yeah.
we're learning from each other and we're sharing. And I think when we step in containers like this, there's an energy and frequency that's helping with the language and the energy for us. So
Mhm. Yes, and it's integrating and like cementing it in like okay.
yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll make sure to put all your stuff in the description, and then if you guys that are watching this, let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know, if you've had experiences with the dragon energy, whether that be in dreams or even like myths and things like that. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.